it's not just from Lee County, it's from surrounding cities as well. Take a look at this view outside of the helicopter. It's not just the projects. There are piles within these projects. They wanted to bring us up here to show us how this all works. Have you ever wondered where the heck all the debris sitting on your front yard's gonna go?
Piles are growing, but of course we're reducing the debris.
Well, here you go.
We're grinding mulch, and we're hauling the mulch out as fast as we can haul the mulch out.
Crowder Gulf is contracted by Lee County to pick up your construction debris, vegetation, and appliances, respectively, and bring it to a debris removal site like this.
This site, it consists of 3 projects. This is Bonita Springs on my left. This over here is Lee County. Most of the material that came out of Lee County came from either the county roads within this area and or came off of Bonita Springs Beach out there.
Here's how it works. There are separate piles for separate needs. That's why companies like Crowder Gulf ask that you put everything in different piles on your lawn. This pile of vegetation will eventually become this pile of mulch and will be taken to a nearby landfill. Construction debris is piled a mountain high here. Now bring the camera back over this way. Take a look at all that debris. These are pieces of people's lives that have accumulated into these giant piles. But I told them, I was like, I can't really see all this from down here because I'm pretty short. Is there any way I can get a better view? So they told me, let's fly. From above the ground, behind the helicopter windows, you can see the method behind the madness. And yes, this was approved by my bosses.
Hopefully this will just give some perspective in terms of the greater scale of the operation.
Barton Holmes knows this is a long process. Heck, he lives it. And he just asks for everybody's patience right now because it's more than just a job to these guys.
Their whole life is now piled on the street. That's an emotional scar that doesn't go away until we can get the debris up off the ground and they can start some form of rehealing.
You guys are a part of the healing process.
You know, I feel like that's part of it for me, and that's why I'm out here.
There's a certain rhyme or reason to why each pile is in each position. You can see all the trucks, all the manpower that is required to make this operation work on a daily basis.
It got so bad when everything started shaking and the windows started breaking. I hugged my wife. I think this is it. I think this is our last day.
Norman Wells's well-being was seemingly well gone.
Well, I tell you what.
Did you hear that? Here, listen again.
It was right there, and there's a house.
That's his voice as he was trapped inside of a house, surrounded by water, riding out Hurricane Ian on Fort Myers Beach. But here's the thing. It changed at the last second, right? Weren't you guys supposed to be here? Norman Wells and his wife Linda were not even supposed to be in that house.
We were going to stay here in the clubhouse right here.
They were supposed to be here at the Red Coconut RV Park.
And then at the last minute, we says, well, we'll go to the beach house because we just put hurricane windows in there.
And yeah, they would have gone to that beach house. But then the phone rang.
At the last minute, my friend called me from down the road, Marty, and he says, Norm, go to my house because I know you'll be safe. It was rated for a Cat 5 hurricane.
I just got to get these pictures.
He did not know it then, but that phone call saved their lives because they were the last ones to leave the park.
I watched the beach house that I was supposed to stay in float by down Estero Boulevard.
There it goes.
It's going to take out the... Come on, get.
I met Norm 3 days after Hurricane Ian made landfall in the same living room where he watched his life flash before his eyes.
Come on, jump.
And now,
so many happy years gone. Everything's gone.
for the first time,
This was my spot right here.
I went back with Norm to the Red Coconut
This was my front yard. This was my fountain.
to see where his life once was.
Right here was my kitchen.
Your kitchen?
Thing of stuff that I had setting, tools and different things.
His mobile home, where he would have been riding out the storm, was thrown 200 feet in the distance. Wait a minute. Your motorhome, this was there?
Yeah, with all the piled on it. The 2 front seats are left.
Oh my
Steering
God.
wheel. And the whole top half is gone.
So what are we looking at here? And I even saw a stone fountain at the front of the complex that Wells...
That I built with my bare hands.
Yeah, that he built with his bare hands. But I've got to hand it to him. Norm is as happy as can be because he still has
My life, my wife, and that was it. What more do you need?
Norman Wells does well with normalcy, like when his wife asks him to clean things up. He likes to stay positive and think that Hurricane Ian helped him
Get rid of the that you've been wanting to get rid of for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, my wife said, when are you going to clean this up? When are you going to straighten that up?
Well, it happened.
Well, it come to and it's gone.
That hopefully won't change, but I had to ask him if he thought everything else he loved would change. What do you think Fort Myers Beach is going to look like in 5 years?
Well, I think it's going to be more towards the rich and famous. You know, the cottage beaches, the good old folks, they're not going to be here anymore because they're not going to be able to afford to live. I'm not going to be able to afford to live here either. You know, with price of stuff is how it's going to be, and what you have to do to rebuild if you had it. It's sad because it was such a wonderful place, you know. It'll be in my heart for the rest of my life.
Let's begin with the good news, Nicole. This house where I am right now, thank goodness the 96-year-old man who owns this house was not inside of it when Hurricane Ian made landfall. The light that you see on my face is not from the sunroof. Take a look. The entire roof of this home was ripped off of its foundation. Over here, the master bedroom, what was the master bedroom where he would have been sleeping if he was here. Take a quick walk with me before I show you this story. Look at this is the kitchen. I mean, these are not just pieces of wood. These are not just pieces of glass. These are real, tangible memories that this family came to know and love. Another guest bedroom over here, the living room to my left now. We have to watch our step because of the glass and because of the nails. Right now, these homeowners are just thanking their lucky stars. It's not the house itself, but the people inside of the house that make it a home.
And we said, Dad, there's nothing left.
Those words mean more to Terry Keevan now than ever before.
Please watch it. There's nails, there's glass.
Because if her 96-year-old father was in his Rotunda house when Hurricane Ian made landfall,
Total destruction in here, as you see.
he would not have made it. This was his bedroom?
This was his bedroom, and yes.
Their entire roof detached from the house and flew off. Yes, I mean the entire roof.
The whole roof is gone.
All of the roof.
All of the roof.
Keevan's father lived here for 15 years.
He was 96. He is a great man.
Well,
World
yeah.
War II vet, 96.
But those days were cut short.
I don't think there's any more nails. I've been in here several times, saw the back and the damage that had been done, and pretty much shut the door and kind of had to process it all.
This was obviously the kitchen.
This was the kitchen. This was the lanai. The lanai is completely gone.
Watch out for that glass. Yes, there is still a boil water notice in parts of Charlotte County, but frustrations are boiling over too for the people of Rotunda.
It's all about Fort Myers, Sarasota, Fort Myers Beach, and never once have I heard anybody say anything about Rotunda West or Inglewood.
It looks how much better than it did an hour ago?
An hour ago.
Just an hour ago. And these ladies are cleaning this all up by themselves.
It's hard because, like I said, this area was hit harder than I think a lot of people realized until you guys will put that out. He's resilient. He said he wants to rebuild. So right now, we're trying to do some clean out. We would appreciate any help that might be offered to us.
And of course, we want to appreciate and thank the family who welcomed into the home today. I'm here with Terry. Terry, first of all, how are you right now?
I'm fine. I've just been helping a neighbor next door. This is my dad's house. Fortunately, he wasn't here.
Yep.
So I knew that she had damage next door, and she's elderly, and we walked in, and her rugs were wet. There was sheetrock down. So I found a nice crew in the back here that helped. There were about 6 kids, and we came in with trash bags and were able to get out all the wet things out of her home.
If someone is watching this and wants to help you right now, how can they help you?
There are so many ways. This area got hit pretty hard. The hills, Rotunda. This is down Oakland Hills, Caddy Road. There's just probably a lot of help, a lot of debris.
Yeah.
We need pickup now. Now we need somebody to come through, maybe FEMA. We need some more help.
Okay.
Any help would be appreciated. Like I said, these young kids that helped for 1 hour and made her day next door, and that's a happy story to me.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot, right? Just a set of hands.
A set of hands, and it was really nice.
Thank you so much, and I wish you guys the best moving forward. Thank you for allowing us into your home as well.
Thank you very much.
Reporting in Rotunda, Michael Hudak, Wink News. Let me just say this. It was a very extensive process, Chris and Lois. The other thing I want to say is we all lived through Hurricane Ian, right? We remember how scary it was, but part of that is living with the devastation that comes afterwards. The people that live at the Riverside Apartments, they know all about that, because this is the area right here where 2 boats were lodged in between the buildings, and there was only one way to get them out of here. They had to lift it up directly above the building and straighten the boat out in front of the building, and it was all caught on camera.
Wow.
A 41,000-pound boat hanging over an apartment building.
We are so glad to have it out of here.
And this is just how the story ends. This is where it begins. Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. The day Hurricane Ian made landfall in Southwest Florida, a day that you and I will never forget. Because the reminders are still scattered everywhere.
Everybody's devastated, so, you know, everybody has to do what they have to do.
Kathy Manning, the property manager at Riverwalk Apartments, is reminded of it every single day. These 2 boats washed ashore and lodged themselves between her buildings. This video was taken by one of her residents on the night of and the morning after the storm hit. He walked outside to see a boat at his front door, and Kathy didn't know when they were ever going to get out of here. Well, that day just came. 51 days after Ian made landfall, R.J. Gorman and their hired contractor were allowed to bring in this giant crane to lift this boat above the building and get it onto a tow truck. But it was one heck of a process.
You got to contact FPL. We had to get the power line down. We got to get logistics in. We got to get the trailers in. We've got to get the cranes in. The lift itself is not what takes the longest. It's getting the logistics, the cranes, the trucks.
For 6 minutes and 45 seconds, the boat stayed in the air until the tow truck got perfectly underneath it and the 2 met on the ground level. That video is nuts.
Give my flight mechanic a fist bump. A good fist bump is just like, hey, we kind of got this. Everybody was ready to go. We had crews assigned. We already had helicopters assigned. This gentleman in particular, him and his wife had stayed. I'm trying to survey the damage, and I'm looking in houses and doorways and windows because people hear the helicopter and they poke out. And this gentleman had been in the water. He was shaking, he was cold, he was pretty hypothermic. The only way in or out of that trailer was through the window because all the floating furniture was blocking all the doors.
They're not gonna go, are they? No, everybody else is staying. They don't want to go, so we're gonna go keep on moving.
He had told me, like, hey, I'm really scared.
She looks terrified.
The wife was pretty scared, but you just assure them that they can do it and they can handle it and that they're strong and that they'll make it through it. And like, we'll get through it together type deal. They really lean on your confidence in those moments because they have no idea what's happening. This gentleman it was him and his grandmother. He actually climbed on the roof with a piece of sheet metal and was flashing it in the sun to get our attention. And that's how we found him. I wouldn't have found them if it wasn't for that.
Pirates. Usually, pirates are not role models.
He was a giving guy. He'd do anything for you if he could.
But Damon Utterback was the exception.
He said, you know, you have no worries as long as I'm your friend. He was very loyal to his friends, to a fault sometimes.
Utterback was obsessed with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
You know, he's well known on the beach as the pirate guy. His costume was authentic. And he had his ring, and he had one of the swords, and he had, you know, the sash out somewhere, and the women would be like, oh my God, it's Jack Sparrow.
The costume is why they called him the Pirate of Fort Myers Beach, but his spirit is why he was loved.
He actually loved to dress it like that, and he would hand out little gold coins to the kids.
But gold coins, the sword, the boots, could not fight off Hurricane Ian.
They said the water's starting to come up to their yard, but they're going to be all right. And that was kind of the last time anybody heard from him.
As the storm surge rolled in, Utterback and his safety rolled through his best friend Mike Yost's mind.
My buddy John said he was one of the last ones to talk to him. Said, let's go look for Damon.
And when he didn't hear from Utterback after the storm, Mike knew something was wrong.
So I said, I'm going to go check. And I went around the corner, and when I got there, the neighbor was out, and I said, where's Teresa and Damon? And they said, Teresa's up here. He said, Damon didn't make it. And I said, well, where is he? and they pointed over to his house, and he was hanging out the window.
Utterback saved his fiancée and their dog from the surge, but according to the Florida medical examiner, he was trying to escape the flooding himself when he got caught in the window and drowned.
The guy was always, he was a giver. You know, he was never like out to get anything from anybody. If somebody needed something, he was always there for you.
Utterback's unselfishness, affection, and loyalty is what he died with and what he will always be remembered by.
Best friends on the beach. So, I mean, life won't be the same.
The captain of Fort Myers Beach, who went down with the ship. So, I asked Mike, what will you guys be doing to remember your friend Damon? He said, we're going to continue dressing up like pirates and running after ships.
Here it comes. Oh, no.
He wasn't crying during the hurricane, but he's crying in my arms.
It says, a miracle waiting to be seen. This is George Bentley Marr. We like to call him Hurricane George. It turned out in the ultrasound Tuesday morning, he was 10.6 pounds, and he's like, we're definitely going C-section, and he had scheduled it for Friday. So we were like, fine, we went home. You know, the storm was just like, it was dreary on Tuesday. Around 5 o'clock, it started getting a little worse, and I was like, let's take all our plants inside and our little knickknacks. And at the time, I saw on my watch that a number I didn't know was calling. It ended up being my OB from his cell phone. And I was like, that's not good. He's like, I'd like you to go to the hospital now and either do the C-section tomorrow morning or even on Thursday, but I just want you to be monitored during the storm because they talk about like the bariatric pressure, how that can bring on labor as well. And I did not sleep well that night, and we were like up and down, and every time
I had like a couch that folds down.
A makeshift bed. Right. We ended up sleeping till like 7:15. The doctor came in and she's like, I'm sorry that we have to meet this way, but we're getting a direct hit and we need to get you into surgery right now. They had canceled all the other surgeries because the hospital was projected to close down, well, at least go on to generators. They knew that we would lose power, so they wanted to get it done as soon as possible. By 8:49, he was born, and 10 pounds 6 ounces and 21 3/4 inches.
So Hurricane George had gotten here, Hurricane Ian had not. Now it was time to hunker down.
Yep.
What was that like? Visualize that for me.
There was a nurse walking around. I am pretty sure her only job of the day was to make sure that nobody was looking out the windows, because she kept like opening the door and making sure that our curtains were closed, because she didn't want like anyone to have any anxiety or like just to cause or be too close. Around 1:30, the power started to flicker, and I think it finally like shut off, and we went to a generator, and then around 2 o'clock they took us into the hallway, and we spent the next 7 hours in the hallway. So I was like breastfeeding out there, and George was in his little bassinet, and Matt had a chair out there.
I would say in the strip of the hallway there were probably 8 different families.
We just kind of sat in the hallway. They delivered dinner out there, and we just kind of hung out. And
every like 3 hours, someone will come by like, "You want refreshment?"
Yeah.
You could tell in many ways when the storm was definitely there, because even though we were in the hallway, you could hear debris. What I only could be described as like, it sounded like searing metal, like if you rip like a aluminum foil, you know, like it just you could just hear things ripping, which in some sense was scarier than the actual sight of it. It was scary. It was very, very scary. And
you were in the hallway for 7 hours?
7 hours.
How was he?
Calm.
Yeah. He slept.
He was the most calm out of the three.
Oh, yes. It was so terrifying, and there's so much devastation in our area. You know, so many people that have lost so much stuff, but we personally have been so lucky, and just to have this little chunkster. But I almost feel guilty that we have something to be so happy about, because so many people have lost so much stuff, which is why I like that we've been sharing our story and just hoping to give somebody some hope, and knowing that something always good comes out of something bad, whether it's just something small like our 10 pound 6 ounce Hurricane George.
Absolute second that we heard George's first cry, we both looked at each other, and like time itself we just came to a stop, and we smiled and we cried. When you fall in love with a person, it was just like that.